Hello, everybody. It's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we are returning to Ultimate General American Revolution, a game which is made by Game Labs, the developers of Ultimate General American Civil War, Gettysburg, Ultimate Admiral Age of Sail, Dreadnoughts, and those are all the Game Lab games I've played. I don't think they're all designed by Darth, but at least the Gettysburg and Civil War game were designed by Darth, who was a big Total War modder. I think Darth is involved in Dreadnoughts. I don't know that he had anything to do with Age of Sail or this one. But this game just released into the 1.0 access version of the game, which is, I guess, the full release. Now, it felt like it was a goodbye message that they posted in the forums, but it might have just, I think it did sound like maybe they would still do some patches, so we'll see. This is early in the British campaign that we're playing here. This is episode 3 of this series, and the revolution, I hope, is just getting underway. We fought one major battle near Leicester, destroying and then completely obliterating a rebel army of about 1,800 men. There's been no sign... Oh, wait. Hatfield's rebelled. Okay. I was going to say there's been no sign of additional rebellions, but I stand corrected. Hatfield has fallen to the rebels. And I don't know if anybody where else has, but Hatfield certainly has. And then also in the north, there was a rebellion at Welemensk, and then they sent a force south, which took Fort George and Fort Frank. Johnny Burgoyne is marching north with a couple of regiments toward George, and will also move toward Frank, and probably also toward Welemensk in the north. But this is like borderline up in Canada almost, not quite that far north, but the Canadian provinces are just over here. I don't know. I guess this is technically still Massachusetts Bay. But the colonial map, I believe, is a little different than sort of our present day map. But you can see Quebec is over here. Norwalk is Massachusetts. So I guess anything east of this river is Massachusetts Bay in the game. Anyway, we just won a battle at Fort George. Burgoyne's going to move forward to Frank, and we are going to send our main character, Thomas Butcher, who is based on Lord Howe, up to Hatfield to crush this province, which has fallen to the rebels. We don't know how many men they have, but I'm pretty confident that if we just bring 3 regiments with us, that will be okay. We'll leave 1 regiment behind to garrison New York to make sure nothing comes in behind us and take it from us. And then obviously our character will lead that force as well. So we have about 2,000 regulars with us on the march up to Hatfield. Now, we do have a couple of objectives. We actually have 125 reputation, which is an absurd amount of reputation right now in our pocket. But New Haven is a Loyalist section of Connecticut. They're 100% loyal to us right now. So I am going to go ahead and raise... I have an objective to raise a militia regiment here. So I'm going to go ahead and raise a militia regiment. I don't know who the best... I don't know if these are redcoat and militia officers, or if they're just militia officers, but it looks like Jeremiah Mackey kind of has the lowest traits. This is just going to be a garrison force, so we're going to use the civilian muskets we have in our stockpile that we've taken from the British. We have 380 recruits that we can assign to militia units here, so what we're actually going to do is we're going to have a decent size, but not super large, militia regiment. 3 companies, actually, that's 450 men. Whatever. 3 companies will raise out to 450 men because the militia companies are a bit bigger. And really, they're just going to act as a garrison here at New Haven. That's all of my intent. I'm not intending to use them to campaign right now. I think we have, at least for the moment, have sufficient rebels in our control, or sufficient regulars in our control. We also do have Francis Smith, who won that battle at Leicester. He is in Leicester right now. The Massachusetts Bay colonies are a little bit less loyal. You can see their loyalty much lower than some of the Connecticut and Rhode Island provinces. New Haven is 100%. Hartford is 100%. Newport 70%. Providence 70%. Middlesbrough, even in Massachusetts Bay, is 100%. So less of a need to garrison those guys from risk of rebel, resentment or whatnot. but that's where we find ourselves. Also, the game wants us to create a warship in Boston. We will get to that here. We should do that soon. Let's give Holmes's regiment some discipline training, and then let's go to England. Do we have a force here? No, we've got 1,800 men on ships, and they'll arrive in 19 days. But it does want me to raise a warship, so let's go to the shipyard. Go ahead to ship. We have these ships sort of in the stocks that are not currently being used. We've got a 5th-rate Dana-class frigate. I don't know that I need a 40-gun frigate, but a 6th-rate 28-gun sloop. I guess that would be more like a frigate, but frigates are usually 5th rates. 6th rates are usually sloops. I don't know why a 7th-rate brig has 18 guns, but we'll do a 6th-rate 28-gun sloop-ish. We've got, I think, sufficient officers to command it, and then we can go ahead and we don't have enough guns in storage, so we'll go to the market, go to cannon. I don't need 32-pounders on a sloop. We've got, I think 6-pounders would be sufficient. I don't think most sloops had 12-pounders. Long 9s, sure. But, yeah, we'll just go with the 6-pounders. What do we need? 28 of them? Will cost $3,000, but our income has actually been ticking up. So we'll create that ship. That's 6th rate. Where did my... Okay, here we had, I don't know, Parker Featherson is the commanding officer. Assign those Bloomfield guns and create it. So we'll create that ship. And if we were to create a fleet, we will now have that ship available to us if we wanted. But we'll leave that back for eventual convoying with reinforcements to arrive. All right. So go ahead and unpause that. Burgoyne and his boys are going to go ahead and take Fort George. We'll wait to move out of George to Frank until we've taken George. Okay, so we get the 5 reputation and 2,500 gold for the militia regiment. We also get the 10 reputation and 5,000 gold for the commissioning of the warship. So those are just sort of things you get. All right, Xavier, you can go ahead and garrison Fort George. And then Burgoyne will go with Holmes, and we will fight over here. This seems like a battle that we don't need to manually fight. Burgoyne, get up here. I kind of hate the way that armies move around on the map. I wish there was more. I wish it was just like one. Kind of like one unit. Looks like the enemy surrendered to us. But I hate how it's so... Like, they don't seem to move as a cohesive force. It just seems to kind of be... Units run around and officers just ride around like maniacs. What's this? Our sloop HMS Canucks had to threaten to shell Falmouth in Massachusetts Bay to secure the release of its captain, who'd been captured by local militiamen. Okay. That reduces our loyalty in Falmouth. Costs us 100 ammo and 300 civilian muskets. Alright, let's see. Is Falmouth... Falmouth is still pretty loyal to us. We do have a printing press there. It's a little concerning there. I'm assuming that was a historical event. Now, we probably would win this battle with fewer casualties if we actually... Can you just charge the fort if we actually fought on the tactical map? But we outnumber them so heavily, I don't think that would be a fun battle. Also, let's go take a look at Hartford. Where are we at with that march? Or Hatfield. Alright, we're getting close, but we're not there yet. Meleeing with the fort defenders. There's only 160 men here. Okay, I guess go attack him then with your 2,000. Seems like overkill. Meanwhile, this battle won't end. The fort assault. The enemy routs. They surrender. And Fort Frank is recovered for us. Apparently we got some ammunition from a Loyalist network. My troops are assaulting Hatfield. The enemy's trying to retreat. I don't know where they're going to retreat to. Fix bayonets and go get them. Alright, they surrendered. Pursue. We'll drop one regiment to retake this town. And we will pursue the enemy up to Fort Rice, which is now also in enemy occupation. I'm guessing they don't really have many troops there. Alliance offer. The Creeks can now be our allies? Sure. Okay, so the enemy does have about 500 troops up here at Fort Rice. That might be a worthwhile battle to fight. Meanwhile, for the moment, Burgoyne, you're going to go ahead and have your regiment here in Fort Frank. Let's move Burgoyne up to Fort Pownal by his lonesome here for the moment. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and build a printing press. And all of these locations where rebellion is imminent. We're already working on a printing press here. We don't have a lot of construction points. So those printing presses will take a good long while to build. Hatfield also has low loyalty. She's already got a printing press. They're working on the town hall. Go ahead and work on the church. That's usually good for loyalty. Leicester is becoming more loyal with the buildings we've built there. Production points is always worthwhile for future building. Church in Boston. Obviously, we could be building other buildings that would be good for our economy, like distilleries, markets, those kind of things. And eventually that'll be important to do. But I'm trying to lay the stalls for sustained success. Tax office actually increases loyalty change? Maybe it's like it's an organizational thing that makes it more efficient and more fair. Not sure, but we'll go ahead and issue a tax off. Put a tax office there. Meanwhile, down in New York, we've got a warehouse, dock, printing press. So we'll put a church in New York. Why are they so upset? New York, you should be happy. You like me, don't you? Please? Okay, but churches and printing presses are very good early buildings to solidify loyalty. I think, anyway. That's my perception. I'm not sure why we haven't done the 10,000 pounds for the king yet. That's a campaign order. I feel like we've definitely collected more than 10,000 in taxes. That's a little confusing. And I don't really want to raise taxes, just hoping that it makes things better. All right, let's do a real quick before we pursue further into the hinterland. Let's look at the control map. So there's the objective up here where the rebellion kind of seemed to spring up recently. And that's it. No other signs of other provinces in enemy control. Where are the Creeks, by the way? The Creek tribes. I don't know if I get credit for them. It looks like I've got 5 more regiments, so I'm assuming I get them in my forces now that we've recruited them. Usually when I've played before, the native tribes are like, there's at least some in and around here, and I don't see anything. What if we go to the Army Management tab? Or garrisons? Maybe it's just a political thing? It doesn't look like I see any option to do anything. We've got some prisoners too, but I don't have anyone I want to exchange. The enemy doesn't have any of my prisoners. Okay. Okay, Hatfield was an uprising. We could also, let's see if there's any that's not what I'm looking for. Construction management. So I think we're already building some stuff here, or no, we're maxed out on some of these buildings. So logistics, expand the logistics in Massachusetts. Expand mining here. Well, we need more logistics here. Massachusetts is really built up. So we already have sort of maxed out our production in several of these towns. Oh, whoops. No, don't do that. I wanted to do a mine there. Okay. Mine here. Just looking for areas with resources. I don't know if mines translate into like lumber in this game anyway, because they don't, like, lumber shows in the same resource section. There's no real like build a logging camp. Okay. Copper is valuable. The South is really into farming, huh? Not a lot of mining options down there. A few places in Georgia. Okay. Build out a lot of farms down here. Be useful in the winter to have sufficient provisions. We should do some industry too. Okay. Shipping maybe also? I'm not totally sure. This is an agricultural hex based on the resource there. I'm going to spend a lot of money building all this stuff. Okay. All right, that's pretty much all of my construction points for the moment, as well as a huge chunk of our cash. I don't know if we go to production management, like what do we want to build locally? Maybe some brown besses? Like, so our militias can have those? Although it might be better just to build them in England and then transit them. Maybe. Because England does, if you go to the foreign relations screen here, England does sell firearms domestically and ammunition very effectively. Which is kind of different than when you're playing as the rebels, you kind of want to build that stuff yourself. Do they demand ships? No, not really. I do need some short browns for my cavalry. We don't have a ton of cavalry, but at least some was a good idea. And then, frankly, I think maybe just having some local muskets is not a bad idea. Not a ton, but a few per day. Plenty of ammo and wagons right now. We probably do want to build some resource or some tech tree upgrades so we can build like logistics units, but I don't need a parliamentary lobby right now. But right now our research is all kind of flowing through. Burgoyne's going to have to Pownal. There's a small garrison there. George and Frank have slight garrisons. Frank needs a larger garrison, it's saying. But I don't have the manpower for that right now. Meanwhile, we did build a militia unit in New Haven. We should also build a militia unit in Hartford, since it's a provincial capital. Use civilian muskets for that also. Not intended to fight, just intended to be large enough to prevent any roving marauders from being a problem. And kind of by building a garrison at Hartford, New Haven, and then having a garrison still at New York, we have garrisons in every town linking us on a straight line all the way to Boston, which in my mind makes us a little bit stronger. And ideally we could throw a garrison into Hatfield. Frankly, we probably need one in Stevens too. Okay. Some of these different forts along the way. Really? Morristown? We need a printing press here, that's why. Okay. And we'll build a church after that. Alright, we'll see how much we torpedo our economy with all that stuff, but let's go ahead and get up here and maybe fight a battle. We'll outnumber them 3-1, but they're in a fort, so it could be a challenge, right? Okay, let's fight 1,300 versus 500. Let's see what the enemy can do, if anything. My general gripe thus far in my experience with this game is it does not feel like the Americans rise up sufficiently. Now, it is still early. We're not yet, past even the declaration. But I would like to see the Americans have 12 colonies all leave our control instantly, and the only thing we have is where our garrisons are. And then at that point, what would happen is you would have you'd have the goal of reconquering rather than whack-a-moling and trying to prevent them from leaving in the first place. And then like they could have a capital. Like I'd like to see all that kind of stuff rather than what we have right now, which is just sort of wait for them to rise up and then sort of whack-a-mole them to death, one province after another. Troops are exhausted and it is raining. Sorry, boys, I don't really want to wait, so I know you're tired, but such is war. The butcher moves forward with his own men. Meanwhile, the Americans hunkered down on the walls of this little fort. All militiamen by the looks of it. We haven't seen any sign of colonials or regulars that we fought yet, which again, maybe that's just because it's still May of 1775, and maybe in July we'll see Washington form a real force. I don't think they have any artillery here either. I think it's just militiamen. One touch I really do like, though, is with the militiamen, you do get their state flags rather than the United States flag. Sometimes you'll see a U.S. flag here and there in militia units, but that is a nice little touch. Keep your powder dry, boys. Not that that's a thing. Maybe it should be. It's not, but maybe it should be. This is my character's first command in a war, or in a battle. You can get promoted. Officers get promoted based on how they do. All right, you target. I'm going to have my artillery concentrate on the front-facing unit. I feel like this unit might be a little more exposed, or they're kind of exposing their flank. But in theory, if you're just considering physics, yes, it's an exposed flank, but also there's every, not a great angle of having to keep running to a fence post after fence post that the shell has to penetrate. The front wall, maybe you're more likely to batter it down. You're not likely to do a ton of actual damage, but... All right, let's move the skirmishers around since they're faster. We'll have them flank, and then kind of like a, herding cattle, they will hopefully drive the retreating enemy in a different direction than they will be. Meanwhile, the infantry here is just going to hopefully sit in here and rest a bit while the artillery pounds the enemy. We'll have 2 batteries in action. What is that? 6-pound field guns for both. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll have 8 6-pound field guns battering this lead enemy regiment. They're militiamen. Hopefully they don't take too kindly to that. Meanwhile, these guys, granted, it's raining, but they are sitting here and gaining some conditioning back. We got our grenadiers over here on the flank. That shell went long. Okay. The artillerymen will not get a break. They will not get a breather. Okay. They've got some nice cover in this wood line. Oh, it says they've got a shield here like they're attached to some fortification. They've actually got less, well, not much less cover than the other units to their left. But you can see here as we pound the fort, You can also destroy elements of the fort too, which then make them unoccupiable. The enemy can still remain there, but they don't get like an entrenchment bonus at that point. I think that's mostly on gates. This looks more like an earthwork. I don't know that you could really effectively destroy that, but we are doing some damage to the troops there waiting. You can see the shell markers here as they burrow their way into the dirt, with the occasional casualty inflicted. Some of these wooden palisades are getting torn up a little bit. Shells or rounds can skip too. Looks like that one missed so badly it hit the other adjacent regiment. Or company, I should say. Alright, so these guys are in position. Skirmishers have regained a lot of their conditioning, so that's good. The gate is actually to the north. Troops in the south have been standing long enough to regain most of their conditioning. Alright, we will give it till 1320 or 1330 when we will begin the assault. 6 and 12 kills, burning through a fair bit of ammo, but this part of the fort is caught on fire despite the rain. That's a sign it's becoming more and more damaged, which may remove all the defender advantages if you do enough. Who knew that after long months of marching, the only thing you needed to do to get your stamina back to 100% was stand still for 5 minutes and you'll be fine. Alright. We could just keep shooting them until the ammo's gone. We've inflicted 20 casualties on this unit here. That's not an insignificant number. That's 20 out of 150. Assuming they were at full strength. Artillery says 14 and 8, so 20. They claim 22 casualties. I think at least one of those was over here. Alright, we will fire one more salvo. We're a little late on starting the assault, but we'll fire one more salvo per artillery battery. Okay. Okay, so each one of those shells killed at least one man. And then we got this other artillery piece, which is also going to fire it off. Heck, we might get 2 more on the rightmost. Okay. Alright, well they're down to 122 in this lead unit. Grenadiers are at 100%. Right flank infantry is at 100%. So I think we advance 2 companies of about just shy of 500 men. On the southernmost regiment or company here. Now they're going to fire. You're going to switch your fire to the right flank. Open fire! We got 450 men or so volleying away. Bring the grenadiers in. Also, it looks like the flank company is joining in on both sides. All right, they're breaking and running. All right, charge into the fort. These other companies will pin them, hopefully. Up over the walls. Where are you getting shot at? Where does it say you're taking friendly fire from? Oh, they're going right into melee, I guess. Well, then in that case, you charge forward here. Why are you getting hit by friendly fire? Oh, these guys, huh? Alright, we'll charge there. If these guys are exhausted and retreating, you can see their musket icon has changed to white. Artillery, switch your fire. I shouldn't have to babysit you quite that much. Okay. All but one of the enemy has surrendered now. I didn't even need to use our skirmishers to block him. And now they're retreating. There we go. Alright. The entire enemy formation has surrendered and is destroyed. So back to the global map. A victory for the British. We suffered 60 casualties in that methodical advance against the enemy fort. The enemy suffered 297 casualties, 260 POWs for their full force of 557 men. And there you go. POWs to work the fort. Now, obviously, we don't want to let them get their troops back if the fort fell back into their hands, but that's a question for another time. Right now, we got the victory. Do. That's why you follow me for the singing. Okay, maybe not. All right, Philip, take your brigade to Fort Rice. General Butcher, you can get the willpower, firearms, melee. We'll do firearms and experience, because the experience can allow me to level up other units. And there you go. Another victory for the force of the king. Fort Rice should be ours momentarily. We'll capture some dropped equipment and supplies. And we are back into a situation where the only stronghold that the enemy has. Fort Jean. The rebels captured a substantial British military vessel on Lake Champlain. Fort St. John damaged down by 46%. Okay. 180 cannons. Okay. Hubbardton is now lost. Let's do this. Let's move this garrison to Hatfield, and then New Haven will raise another militia regiment. Militias are cheaper and more expedient for me to raise than regular troops back home in England. And so that's why I'm continuing to go the militia route. Okay. I don't know how many men need to be in Hatfield to prevent it from almost rebelling. Oh yeah, you need at least 423 soldiers in your garrison, so we have 680. But by moving Mackey's 450 militia up to Hatfield, what I can then do is I can bring these 700 regulars north for the assault. Oh God. What's going on? 500 enemy troops are attacking Fort Pownell. Burgoyne is in the vicinity. Let's see if we can turn the tide. I'm outnumbered almost 5-1. The fight's already well underway. I only have one company. There's not really much room to maneuver there. Holmes, move your troops up at the double to the relief of Pownell. I don't know that you'll get there in time, but we'll see. So Pownal, that's the one decent thing about the simulated results is that British troops... What's going on here? Team of experienced traders, logistics, and experts are giving us more money. Call to action. Okay. But because our troops are more disciplined, they can hold the fort longer, despite being outnumbered. So the enemy actually withdrew, presumably as soon as they saw my reinforcements coming up. Burgoyne is going to pursue them into the woods. Don't worry, Johnny, nothing ever bad happened to you pursuing troops into the woods and the backwaters of the United States. I'm sure everything will go fine. Alright, so let's fight another little battle here. Another small little fight. I don't know, maybe I need to revisit my thought of there not being an organized enough rebellion. Maybe these events we're seeing on these different forts will eventually coalesce into a mass rising. Because right now it is very whack-a-mole, but I'm sure the British felt like that in, you know, at Lexington and Concord too. Alright, let's merge these guys. So we've got 480 regulars, 90 skirmishers, and 100 men on cannons. Nice swampy terrain here on the right. The numbers are actually not dramatically different, so I will hold my position. I'm assuming the AI is not retreating yet. Maybe they'll come for me. The fact that it's always raining, a little bit annoying. I don't really want to advance through marshes. I really learned my lesson playing as the Americans, running into light infantry in heavily wooded terrain and just getting wrecked without even being able to see where they're at time and time again. It's like we're fighting in Seattle right now. Alright, but I think the discrepancy of power up here with the blue bar being only like a little bit more than the halfway point means the enemy won't instantly retreat. I guess we could send Gentleman Johnny out here to go see what he can see. Scout the enemy maybe. Unless they're being... We have some reinforcements coming up. Oh yeah, that's from the fort. I don't even know where the enemy is. Gentleman Johnny, where you at? Oh, they retreated? Were they even on the field? That was a waste of time. Patrick Henry. I am not a Virginia, but an American. Thanks for extra money, boys. Alright, if they're retreating, I want you to pursue. Bayonet them. Maybe we'll make a play for Wellemunsk, just all by our lonesomes here. Oh, Burgoyne, get up there. You're supposed to be leading these men. Okay, so Loyalist farmers giving us some provisions that we didn't really need. Where are they running to? Just chasing them around the woods? They're too fast for me. I can't catch them. I don't want them to go take another town just because I let them get away. Charge forward. My boys are too tired to keep pursuing, though. Supply party. 10% reputation cost for 10 days or whatever. All right, so garrisons arrived at Hatfield. Or just about. There we go. We will bring up these 600 men to go reinforce Fort Rice. What's Rice's garrison need to be? 80 men, that's it? Okay. Hey, we're fighting another battle here. It's a running battle. It's like at the opening of the Patriot. More money, because they just want to give the king all the money that they've got. They've got him trapped on 3 sides now. Alright, there they go. They surrendered. Now go take Velmunsk. Castine is no longer at risk of rebellion. Oh, it's that one it is. Never mind. Alright, you go back to Frank. Or maybe George, one or the other. They both need a garrison, technically. But Holmes is going to advance on Velmunsk. Enzo's going to join the garrison there. Do we know how many men they have at Hubbardton? Victory or death. End of May, 1775. Only 100 men? Okay, boys. Let's go crush them. Where are we at now? More printing press is completed. Fort Rice captured. No other events going on here. Maybe we can finish off the rebellion here. France and Spain have ended their alliance. John Hancock's been elected the president of the Continental Congress. What, like, where is he? Because just let me go march to frickin' Philadelphia. We can end this rebellion right now. That's what also is a little silly, because Baltimore and Philadelphia. Philadelphia's on the map here somewhere, right? Do I not? I don't know my geography very well. Morristown. Where the fuck is... It's on the coast. What am I doing? Here it is. It's still in red. It's still in our hands. That's funny. You know what? Just to spite the Continental Congress, I'm going to put a frickin' militia regiment in Philadelphia during the Declaration of Independence. Tell me that's not silly. They're not even to the Declaration yet, but they will be. Like, how is that... Whatever. That's just weird. Right, you guys are going to halt. I don't want you fighting until you've rested a little bit. My character is 143 reputation. We outnumber them 4-1. They're fighting in Hubbardton, which is not a garrison town, so they don't get like a fortification advantage. Tax office in New York is completed. Does that change loyalty at all? Not as far as I can tell. Well, that's actually not the right town anyway. Where was the tax office completed? New Haven. Yeah, it doesn't look like it makes a difference. Okay. Hubbardton is going to be ours. Those 92 men are going to retreat probably to Burlington. Maybe we can cut them off with Humphreys up there. We don't have a general there, so we wouldn't fight that battle, but I can rush the butcher up there. Hubbardton's a loyal town anyway. There's no reason to even... We don't even need to garrison it. Where'd they go? Oh, there they go. They surrendered. Good job, boys. So that enemy force surrendered. Covert manufacturing. 19 coal. Alright. Upraising in Fort Granville. Okay. Well, that one's nowhere near anything. So as soon as we take cover, they're like way in the interior. I suppose that's the biggest risk, is just that you're not able to garrison stuff because they're just, you know, too much hinterland strength. Okay. Probably should put a garrison in Baltimore, huh? It's a decent-sized town, although it's not loyal enough. Cambridge also. Cambridge, Massachusetts had a rebellion. Okay. I'm curious, because when you go to the foreign relations section here, campaign progress, the current rebel army is quite weak. The rebel navy is notably weak. How do you get them to give up? I don't know the answer to that. But we're going to have to send a punitive expedition in to go get Granville if we... Well, that's next. Let's get Velimunsk first. These guys are rested up now. Burgoyne, go get it. See how many days they trade volleys on the strategic map. Still don't understand how we haven't raised $10,000 in taxes, or 10,000 pounds. Like, what am I supposed to do for that? There's no way to track. They need a screen where you track your objectives like this for the king or whoever. The U.S. and Spain are now allies? What? Also, we have not received an alliance proposal from the U.S. That's strange. So if Spain and the U.S. are now allies, we're going to have to deal with Spanish soldiers arriving in the colonies? There's an uprising in Orange. So we are starting to lose our grip on some of these interior towns. They're all still pretty scattered, though. I will lead a punitive expedition against them, I think, once we... get our next officer who arrives. We've got a 4th general who's on the way with another 1,800 troops. We can send him into Virginia and deal with him that way. Spain and the U.S. are now neutral. Our ally, Spain, informed us that they are terminating the alliance due to non-compliance with the terms. What? Okay. Second letter to Canada inhabitants. The Second Continental Congress approved a letter to the inhabitants of Canada aiming to encourage both French-speaking and English-speaking residents to support the revolutionary cause. Nonsense. What is this nonsense? How dare they do such a thing? We need propaganda and churches, and that's all they need up there. Give them the bayonets, boys. Finish them off. There we go. Alright, so the enemy surrendered. We're taking Velmunsk back. Alright. Burgoyne's probably not going to remain up there by himself. Maybe he'll pull back to Pownal for now. Between his command and the troops there, they should have a sufficient garrison to prevent a rebellion. Alright. So, with that victory against Velomensuk, or how... Velomensuk. Okay, anyway. Let's take a look at the strategic map and see the way that things lie. You know, we had a pretty slow turn. Like, we did, what, a month of time? We'll have troops arriving. Byron's fleet will arrive in 2 days, so I think we will deploy him to Virginia. That seems like the most logical thing to do. What's this? Okay. We need more recruits. How many garrison troops does Rice need? 80? That's not many at all. Stevenson needs 170. Lovell needs 250. So I'd be tempted to put a regiment in each Lovell, Stevenson, and Rice. At least a regiment of Loyalists. Boston needs 900 men there, so those boys aren't going anywhere anytime soon. But I don't want to put regulars up there. Can we raise any troops in Boston? Oh, the loyalty's too low. Okay. We've still got plenty of bandwidth in terms of our unit cap. The main concern is that we just spend too many officers doing non-productive things like garrison work. Okay. So that'll be all our civilian muskets pretty much. We'll have one company of brown besses. Alright, so we'll put 2 regiments into Stevens and Lovell. Maybe we'll leave some regulars at Rice. I don't know. Or actually what we could do, move the 120 troops from Lovell to Rice, and then those other 2 regiments will fill in Lovell and Stevenson, and that'll secure them from risk. And then we can move all 2,000 regulars back to New York. And then we can move those regulars in New York in toward Granville. We'll have the new troops arrive, and we might even just land them at Cambridge and take that back from the enemy. And then move on Orange. Because I think those are the only three. I think it's those three provinces, which is the most that they have had, really, since we've started. But yeah, those are the only three right now in continental hands. But it is May. We could be getting more events as the Continental Congress proceeds with its mission of independence for the states. That being said, it's still really funny. We've got 450 men in Philadelphia. Anyway, guys, we've been going for about an hour. This is episode number 3 of Ultimate General American Revolution. We had one interesting-ish battle, and then we had some strategic map-level battles. We are working on improving our economic situation, but ramping up the garrisons, that won't help a ton. Though I will say, with relying, building more and more loyalists, hopefully that solves some of the financial strain of the necessary garrisons. But that'll be for a challenge for us to determine how we deal with it in the next episode. Until the next episode, this is the Historical Gamer once again saying thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'm out. Bye-bye.